You also mentioned David Sandlin, a guy who you guys acquired in spring training for John Schreiber. Had a really interesting year, in part because like stuff was electric, right? Like I think that I'm not sure if he joined the Fuego Club of throwing 100 and getting a nice T-shirt as a prize. Maybe he did. I don't know. You probably know better than I. But yeah, how would you describe his stuff development, and why was it that you guys were working with him mostly in shorter inning stints throughout the course of once he got back from injury this year?
Yeah, so David did join the Fuego Club. He hit 100, 102, I believe. Was sitting 96. It's unreal stuff. And really excited about his development this year. Again, really raising the floor to give him a shot to be an elite starter. We pushed him and his last player goal of, hey, let's sit 97. Let's have your average fastball velocity at 97, because the pitchers in the big leagues, the starting pitchers in the big leagues that do that are the best in baseball. So let's really push the bounds there. In terms of some of his reduced like inning count, we really were prioritizing kind of the volume or length of the season for him. He'd never been through a full season throwing for essentially 7, 8 straight months. So really prioritizing that, not necessarily trying to solve the inning problem right now, trying to solve the length of the season problem and get him used to that, so that going in the off season he can understand what that feels like, and then, okay, cool, I really need to push the bounds in X, Y, and Z to continue my personal development to be an impact big league starter.
I do want to roll back to the Fuego question, right? Because like it's more than just Takis. Who came up with the idea for the "I Throw Fuegos" shirt? Who got them this year? And do any of you do any coaches or coordinators get to wear them, or is it strictly for those who hit 100?
So coordinators that have it, it's myself and Bales. That's it. Um, Essentially spring training, again, we saw this org had a bunch of guys with some great stuff. We were trying to push the bounds of that by incentivizing it, and ultimately we came up with the bright yellow shirt with the blue B, just so you stand out. Like, hey, if you throw 100, you should walk around and everybody should know you. So that was kind of the premise behind it. I believe we gave out 5 or 6 this year. Guerrero got one, Sandlin got one, Alex Spees got one, and a few others. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we handed a bunch of them. And again, just trying to really push those guys to let's get to this elite range. Let's really see if we can push your bounds and get you to this exceptional area where not a lot of pitchers get to.
Yeah, when you came in, right, the challenge is to develop impact pitching through the pipeline that will ultimately impact the major league team. And you mentioned a Penrod, Guerrero, whether it's Cam Boozer, who has come, you've had, especially the bullpen, which has struggled in the second half of the major league level, guys have gotten an opportunity, and some of them have done real well. What does that sort of do for, your group, that pitchers who bought into this now get an opportunity and it's working? And B, how does that sort of, I don't want to say motivate, because they're all motivated, but that sort of serves as a role model, like, listen, this guy bought into this and is becoming this. Like, what does that do? How does that sort of manifest itself with the guys who are following in their footsteps?
Yeah, it just almost shows them like, hey, here's a guy that was in my shoes that was able to get to where I want to go. And again, I think we're seeing it with how many guys we're having down in Fort Myers right now. We didn't have to push. We actually had to turn a bunch of guys away. And hey, these guys had this success buying into the program. I can be in their shoes in a year or two, which is very exciting. And it kind of breeds on itself. Again, I hate to bring up my former organization, but we just happen to play them. And you look at their big league bullpen, and it's all minor league guys through the system. And I think I was talking to one of their front office members, and their bullpen right now is costs them about $8 million. And they've got a pretty good bullpen. So if we can do that and then supplement with some of those higher dollar guys that are elite for a reason and getting paid a lot of money for a reason, and then also develop our own, then that really helps the bounds and what this pitching staff would be able to accomplish.
It has been a super interesting first year, just in terms of how you guys have been looking to kind of bring in guys who have a chance to matriculate up the pipeline, right? There have been the trades we've noted. You guys acquired Sandlin, you guys acquired Fitz, you guys acquired Weissert. There was an obvious emphasis in off-season trades in terms of picking up young pitchers, Priester, and then of course there was the draft when you guys. It wasn't quite like bananas, right? Like we've seen teams in the last few years go 20 for 20 in terms of dedicating their draft picks just to pitchers, but still, this was different. You guys used a second round pick on a pitcher, which is something the Red Sox hadn't done since Tanner Houck in 2017, and you also drafted 13 guys, and then you put them all on layaway in Fort Myers, where we didn't get to see any of them really in terms of what they looked like at the start of their professional career. So I want to start with Peyton Tolley, the second round pick that you guys grabbed this year. What was interesting about him, and what has this chrysalis? I don't know. Like, we can talk about different forms of metamorphosis, metaphors, if you'd like. What this period has been like in his professional life, where you got him, and now you're trying, presumably, to shape some things.
Yeah, so Peyton's an interesting guy for sure. Big, physical. I think he's weighing 240, 250 now, 140 pounds of skeletal muscle mass. Big, physical guy. In the draft, you just saw the fastball. You saw how the fastball playability, and the extension was huge. And it was like, hey, this guy, if he gains a couple ticks, we hone in on the secondary pitches, you could see this guy being a front end rotation arm. And that's really, really exciting, especially from the left side. There's not that many guys out there with his profile. And the guys that they have a lot of big league success. So really excited about kind of, first of all, acquiring him, and then additionally the physical development he's made down in Fort Myers. You guys will have to wait and see until spring training when he comes out, but it's pretty exciting, the developments he's made, and he's going to continue to make kind of throughout the offseason.
So you're down there in Fort Myers right now, and tell us a little about what's going to be happening, because you're talking about having to turn people away, which is a beautiful problem to have. But how does that happen? Like how does that word spread to the point where they're sort of knocking down the door saying, "Hey, I want to be part of this"?
I think it ultimately just comes in to the point earlier of these guys having success, them matriculating up. Again, it might be a little bit of the Campbell effect as well. Like, this guy took a huge step forward, and it's like, okay, why? Well, he had some of the best facilities, some of the best resources available to him for an extended amount of time in a period where he didn't need to worry about baseball performance. He just had to worry about kind of the big rocks. So I would credit kind of what the org has done previously, and then additionally the proof of concept that we saw this year with a lot of our pitchers' development, really as kind of the driver there.
So, we talk about the pitching group, and obviously you've got some interesting people beyond you and Andrew Bailey, right? Craig Breslow was a pitcher, right, at the major league level in Boston, and he's running the whole operation. Kyle Bodie's been a part of this, right? You've got a guy who has done some revolutionary stuff in Driveline. What's the dynamic been like with him, and how do you sort of bring in all those voices and make sure you're aligned on the message?
Yeah, no, it's been a great experience to work with Kyle. He's great in terms of the ability to ping ideas or thoughts, or, hey, what did you guys do in this kind of situation? I have my background. He has his background. Brez has his background in terms of what are we doing from a development landscape. And it comes down to, we're all driven towards the same thing, which is developing elite impact big league pitchers, and kind of there's really not too much nuance there on what an impact big league pitcher looks like, and what it takes to do that. So that's really, really helped. We're all driven towards kind of the same things. Obviously, there's little nuances in the way we've gone about things, but the key drivers don't really change that much.